A winner is just a loser who tried one more time. George M. Moore Jr. My friends, you never know how close you are to the cusp of victory when you give up. So never give up. Never give up. Keep striving. You can do this. I'm your biggest fan. Let's jump into these charts. We see stocks up again for the day, bonds and gold down, Bitcoin rebounding. How do we see things shaping up as we get through hump day? 2 more days left this week. What do we see happening with all of these charts? First, the S&P 500. We have a red candle spinning top that is forming, long wick on the bottom. And again, we have seen this candle body itself be pared back as we have moved along with up movement after a big drop. You'll see that depicted better on the half-day chart. We'll get to that in just a minute. Price percent oscillator still going down. Derivative oscillator still negative. 2-day chart flat. And again, we had that crossover going down. Don't know why these are moving on us. There we go. We had that 2-day crossover going down back on Monday. That wasn't a that was a recross going down. That was not just a regular cross. That gave us an opportunity to jump into a down move. Now we see things flat on the price percent oscillator. We still have the weight of the weekly and the 2-day derivative oscillator, which is a leading indicator, still negative. So we'll watch, wait and see. Of course, every time you enter a practice trade, you do what? You set your profit and your loss band, so you know when to get in, when to stay in, when to get out. Getting in, of course, is based on these crossovers. What do we see on the half day? 2 days of up movement, piercing the 2-day trend line in the afternoon candle on Wednesday. So again, pay attention. Don't have the price percent oscillator crossing over yet, or the derivative oscillator. We'll see what Thursday holds for us with that 2-day recross going down. How are we looking on the Qs, the Nasdaq 100? Well, price percent oscillator still trying to tick up. Derivative oscillators flat. We have, of course, pushed through. We did this at the beginning of the week. We pushed through the gold trend line. That is our weekly trend line. We have a doji right now. Lots of indecision was what that shows us. Look at this 2-day chart. The latest 2-day candle is a green, solid green spinning top. Shows us indecision, still has a downward push to it, but not enough energy to cross over going down on the price percent oscillator on the 2-day chart. Derivative oscillator still barely positive, so we'll pay attention to that. Look at the half-day chart. We see that the price percent oscillator is trying to head up. Derivative oscillator still negative, losing downward momentum, but 2 days of strong up movement. So we'll continue to watch, wait and see. In other words, we did not have this crossover going down yet on the 2-day that would definitely take us out of the Q's play. Now, there are some of you who took your profits back on the 13th, the 14th, the 15th. And again, as things started moving down, again, we're just continuing to watch. Maybe we'll have a bounce off. Maybe it'll be a crossover. But again, we'll pay attention and watch this and move through it together. Now, let's move away from stocks. We'll go to bonds. Bonds down for the day 1.27%. Nonetheless, look at how bonds have continued to move up over these last many weeks, particularly after this 2-day recross that we had. We'll see more of that as we get into the 2-day chart. Price percent oscillator still heading up. Derivative oscillator pretty much flat. We look at the 2-day and we can see where we've got a wick on the latest 2-day candle, wick on the top as we saw the candle paired down. Price percent oscillator still positive, but heading down. Derivative oscillator positive, losing momentum. 2-day, what do we see there? Well, we saw where the 2-day has for the last day and a half, last 3 candles, particularly these last 2, has moved down very strongly, crossing over, going down in the morning. Derivative oscillator crossing over in the afternoon. So again, Pay attention to the 2-day chart. Pay attention to the weekly, which is still decently strong. We've done very, very well with that 2-day recross back on the 20th of May. It has paid off very well for us in this practice trade. And let's figure out how to get the most out of this and the appropriate point to get out. For those of you who've already taken your money in your practice trade and run, good on you. And again, for those of you still hanging in there, make sure you're hanging in there for the right reasons. Now, for our last big chart before we get to Bitcoin, let's check out gold, down 0.37%. Look at the weekly chart on gold. That price percent oscillator will just not cross over going up. Now, maybe gold will finish off big on Thursday and Friday for the week, and that could push it over, but it just doesn't look like it. Derivative oscillator gaining downward momentum. That price percent oscillator may be pulling away a little bit from the red signal line. Look at the 2-day. Of course, it managed to push itself through and over. In fact, well, you know, to do this accurately with where things are now, we saw that happen, of course, and it looks like it's still continuing to be just a little bit above and laminated. So we had that 2-day crossover, not a recross, but a crossover going up, hoping that was going to help drag that weekly up. But the latest candle we have here, this red spinning top, isn't really doing it. Derivative oscillators flat, price percent oscillator still staying just a little bit positive, but it looks like it's working hard to do that. We can see where gold was way down in the morning and paired off some of those losses. In the afternoon, price percent oscillator on the half-day chart moving down, as is the derivative oscillator. That's where we are with our big 4 charts. Now let's talk about Bitcoin. Whoa, swinging back. Bitcoin swinging back 7.13% after hitting a recent low of 29,659.06. This, nonetheless, even with the 7.13 upsurge on Wednesday, price percent oscillator still heading down. Derivative oscillator negative and has been losing downward momentum since it peaked back on the 11th. So that's the 11th of June. That's on the weekly chart. What about the 2-day? 2-day's sort of been back and forth. Looks like this latest one is actually trying to cross over going up on the price percent oscillator. Derivative oscillator, however, negative. We have a red down candle that has formed, wick on the bottom, no wick on the top. So again, overall, we still have that downward push of the weekly. We look at the half-day chart. This is where we see things bounding up on Wednesday after really hammering down for 2 prior days on Monday and Tuesday. That's where Bitcoin is. We're going to have to see a lot more upward movement to turn this ship around. That is where we are, folks. Thank you so much for being with us. If you appreciate what we do, we have Patreon levels of support, any of the 3. Of course, what will you get? It's going to be going out tomorrow night. It's our 20 weekly vertical crossovers we strive to give you every week on the S&P 500, so you have lots to look at and potentially practice trade, plus, of course, all the free trainings. The big training that we have in there for you, Options Made Simple, the Charting Wealth Way, 3 video series just for you as Patreon members. And of course, once a month, first Wednesday of every month, we provide you with our live question and answer call-in session. God bless, my friends. All the best from the whole team at Charting Wealth World Headquarters.